Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Moms Making Money show. I have a special guest for you guys today. Actually, I have two special guests for you. I have the little man here, and then I also have my friend, Hollie Tkac. She is a word wizard, and if you wonder what a word wizard is, she's a copywriter, and she also really helps focus, or helping people like me focus that little squirrel in my brain on getting my message across. So we're going to have some entertainment today, you guys, but she's going to better explain a little bit more about everything that she does and how wonderful it is a little later in the show. But I wanted to go ahead and get started. I wanted her to tell a little bit about her story. Again, this season is all about confidence and how we've overcome some of those self-doubts and those fears and some of the obstacles that have stood in our way so that we can have a business. And Hollie has had some really cool success in her business just this year alone. So Hollie, take it away. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I started my business a couple years ago. But before that, I was the kind of person throughout like high school and college where I didn't really know what I wanted and I just did what everyone told me to do. And, you know, in terms of everything I did really, like picking extracurriculars and classes and a path and a job and everything. And I had a pretty great corporate job after college for almost 7 years. And I started my business while I was still there. So I did it on the side, which I know a lot of people have different commitments, even just being a parent, right? And they think like, how can I do this on the side? And it really is possible. But it's a big goal that most people don't attempt. So you do have to make some adjustments, but it's definitely doable. And so I did that for a while. And then I left my corporate job in April of last year. So it's actually almost been a year, which I've been realizing lately. And it was pretty hard, actually. It was really hard. I had a lot of things happen that I didn't feel like I could share at the time. I'm not sure it happened, but like the situation was that I had been making a few $1,000s a month and I felt good about it. And then when I left the corporate job, I went through like 4 or 5 months with no sales and like really like beating myself up every day and like thinking like I'm doing what my coach is telling me to do. It's not working. Like what's happening? And, you know, everyone else that I see out there with their ads and their whatever they're doing are saying they're making so much money. And I'm wondering like, where's my piece? That's kind of the negative mindset or like the less productive, lower vibe mindset that I was having about it. And it was very emotional. I'm emotional anyway as a person. So that was really tough, but I got out of it. I started to get my feet back and make some sales, etc. And, but I was considering going back to corporate and I felt like, I was like questioning that because I made such a big deal about leaving. I thought, not that anyone notices, but I thought I made a big deal about it. It was a big deal. And then I'm like, oh, I might actually go back. And I was really looking for a job for a few months. So, long story short, I didn't go back. I didn't get a job that I was on the final rounds for. And I think that was the best thing possible because there was just such a synchronicity of events where that happened. And then I went to a mastermind in person. And then I just really in the past few months have got a complete mindset shift. I don't even know how to explain it. So it's been an interesting ride. I've grown so much as a person by doing this that I wouldn't have been in the corporate environment. So
I think that's a lot of women and probably men too. I know men think a little bit differently just because they're wired differently than us, but I think a lot of people don't realize what a really incredible journey it is when you get started out. He's destroying my little affirmation cards here. Because you do grow so much. Like a lot of even MLM companies, they really push personal development on you. And there's like a legitimate reason for it. Like the mindset stuff, so big. I did a video yesterday just about how mindset combines with confidence and confidence combines with mindset. And without one, you can't have the other ultimately. And so I love that you brought up that it's been a journey and, you know, how you're ultimately blessed to have taken that ride, because it's not something you would have otherwise experienced. I mean, in corporate, most companies, I'm not saying all companies, I'm sure if you work for like Tony Robbins Incorporated, you definitely get your fix of personal development and growth and whatever. But a lot of companies don't do that. It's like, punch the clock, do your stuff, and get out. Here's your paycheck on Friday. But, and a lot of companies don't, I mean, even a company that I've worked with, they don't necessarily want their employees to want to grow too much, right? Like they're like, when you hire a receptionist, make sure she only wants to be the receptionist and that she doesn't want to, she's not going to get bored and want to move up the ladder, right? That doesn't play into growing as a human even a little bit. So I love that you brought that up, because even though it's hard at times to realize when you're in it, but then you can look back and you can be like, okay, this happened for me, not to me, type of thing.
Yeah. And I think I was actually lucky because I was in one of a better company to work for. We're always ranked and all that before. And so I forget that the majority of jobs are kind of like, can be like that, or have aspects of that, and be even a worser environment. Worser is not a word, but I'm the copywriter that makes up my own words, by the way. But yeah, it's definitely a journey, and I have definitely a lot to share about how I've managed my mind.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of those specific obstacles that you did overcome, maybe like a fear or maybe a setback or something that you're comfortable sharing with, the Facebook world.
I think that one of the things that has kept me going is having my coaching community group program I'm in. And then I renewed again for this year, even though I feel like it's still a financial stretch. It always felt like a financial stretch, by the way. So I think anyone that's on here that's like wanting to do something and they're like, but I don't have the money. It's like, no, not many people that are starting a business for the first time have oodles of money to just throw at things. So everyone kind of has that. And even if you do have money in the bank, you might still be like, should I spend $10,000 on this year? Like I used to want a new car. I still haven't gotten it yet. It's coming, but I could have bought like 2 cars since I started my business, probably. So, but anyway, having that like sense of support, it really makes a difference. And I haven't found the same from free relationships or communities. Start where you're at, but I haven't found the same. So that's really kept me going, because if I didn't renew this year, I definitely would be back in corporate, because I wouldn't have had those people to hold me high that are achieving success. So that's one thing that's kept me going. Highly recommend. And then the other thing would be some of the mindsets I learned from that community have really been like trusting in my path and journey, that it's unfolding how it needs to for me. And like Amie's is going to look different for her, because she's coming to the table with different things in her own life, different past lives, if you get woo-woo about it, like different parenting and everything. And I have different stuff too. And so we both have like different things that we're going to need to learn and grow from. And so our results will not look like anyone else's. Something that took somebody a month to achieve might take us a year to achieve,
Right.
Or vice versa. So just really trusting that things are unfolding for me. And like, I used to feel a lot of jealousy when I saw successes from people, and that's really, really minimized now. And I think it's because of really leaning into that mindset. And it's more of when I see somebody having a huge success, I either can just tell if I want that or not. And if I do want it, I can just be like, wow, that's evidence that it's possible, versus getting jealous.
Right.
Like the icky kind of jealous feeling. And then so that's really been it. And then part of that has been focusing on what I can grow, what's growing me from each situation. So like, for example, say that you're trying to enroll somebody into your network marketing, or you want to sell your program to somebody, and you talk to them and like say it goes really well, but they still say no. It's so like, I used to go into like, what's wrong with me? This is never going to happen to me. Like, oh my God, I needed to make like this much money this month. And like, this is never going to get me there if people are going to, say no or whatever. And now I think like, okay, well, what really happened? Like, oh, I probably didn't do the value, or like didn't indicate the value, or I just like note what I could have done better possibly.
Right.
Or I let them off the phone without booking a follow-up or, there's just all these things that can happen. And that's just a way more productive way to go about going through all that kind of stuff that happens naturally with the business.
And I think like one thing that you talked about was making the investment. The neat thing about that is when you even like, I want to compare it kind of to like a franchise. When you go into a franchise and you buy, say, a Subway, invest up front a bunch of money. But that investment comes with more than the logo. It comes with more than the fancy, storefront. It comes with training, because let's just face it, most people starting out in a business have never done that particular business before. So even though we're good at something, obviously, like for you, I always say like you're a word wizard, and you knew that I'm assuming that you knew that's exactly the path you wanted to go when you first got started. Like for me, I'm 36 and I just decided what I wanted to be when I grow up, like last month. So, but when you make that first investment, whether it's into a coach or into a franchise or whatever, it also comes with a certain amount of training, right? Somebody who can help guide you, depending on what type of coach. Like if you are just hiring a mindset coach, that's still like training. It's training for your mind. And for me, like mindset training, that's something I'd never really experienced before. I never really knew I needed. And now I'm like totally in love with it. Right. So, I mean, a lot of people are, they sometimes say like, oh, I can't make that investment, but it's like, they have to remember like maybe they don't make a huge investment right up front. And obviously I'm not saying like go drain your bank account or cash out your 401k or whatever, but people do that. They'll go cash out their 401k to start a Subway or a franchise or whatever, because they believe that they're going to have this success, and they usually do. So I wanted to kind of reiterate that it is scary to make that investment, but it doesn't really matter what kind of business you're in. You're in a business and you're making some sort of an investment. Even in MLM, maybe you're only making a $20 investment or a $40 investment, or the cost of your kit, maybe $100, but it's still a scary thing for so many people. So making that first investment and making continued investments to help grow your business. I mean, there's a cost code in your accounting software just for that, continuing education. There's a reason for that, because it's a normal business practice. So I felt like, by you mentioning that was important to share, because a lot of people think I can just do all this on my own. And then the next thing they know, they've quit, they've never started, or they're completely burnt out.
Right. And I think it's really important to know the reasons. If you learn sales from anybody, it's like the reasons people don't buy are either that they don't believe in the product, or they don't believe in themselves. It's like basically one or the other it could boil down to. So yeah, like we see products all the time and it's like, yeah, that looks great or nice. Like, I don't actually have a child. So like baby stuff, I'm like, oh, that's cool, but like totally don't need it now. So I'm not going to buy it. So that's like, not that I don't believe in the product, but it's just not a resonant product for me. But then there's the stuff that I want to do. Like, I also had a love coach last year, and like, I knew that I really wanted to have a great relationship, but it was a big investment in that coach, but I really felt connected and I knew they could help me. So then it's like, okay, well, what's really coming up? Because I didn't have that money in my bank account, but there are other ways to get money that I really think people need to open their minds to. Right. Like actually my own coach this morning on her live had a great example where she said, if you had a small child and they had a disease or something, they needed next week a $10,000 surgery, what would you do? Like, you would do whatever it took. You would call people, probably have a GoFundMe, like do this whole campaign to make it happen. So yeah, maybe having a business is not life or death, but it kind of can be if you're feeling miserable. Like, why aren't you doing whatever it takes to find the money if you really feel compelled to do something? And it's probably because you don't think you'll do the work or something like that, which is an issue I've had. And so that's really what you should be looking at. And you signing up for that program is a great service to probably help you break through that feeling. Like, oh, well, I never follow through. Okay, well, this time when you're spending $10,000 with this person, follow through.
Right. And even, I mean, not every coach is $10,000.
For sure.
Get started in a group program that's $100 or $200 or $500 to get your feet wet and get some of those initial steps going, get some of that initial mindset going, and make sure that you're on the right path. But I do see that we have a few viewers. So you guys, if you're popping on live, feel free to say hi. Tell us where you're. Hi, Maddie says hi. And obviously, if you're catching the replay, post replay below, feel free to share where you're catching the replay from. Next, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit more about what Hollie does. What is a word wizard? And she has a really cool free gift for us, you guys. So, Hollie, tell us what exactly you do to help people, people in business actually grow, and what it means to, identify and clarify and get your message just right.
Yeah, so as Amie said, I'm a copywriter, and I also guide people, strategize with them on their messaging and things like that. And I actually fell into it, so I never had that plan to do this. And I really love the coaching industry, so that's definitely where I'm going to be focusing for now. I want to help people, with their health, but it's like, what's the root of that? Like, that someone's going to care about, because eating healthy, while it is good, it's a means to an end that somebody wants. Like, they want to lose weight or be able to play with their children outside, or, some other kind of thing, that it's really just a means to an end. So people focus way too much on I'm a health coach, I help you eat gluten-free or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, who's going to choose to go through a whole diet without an end game in mind? Right. Even if it's just to not have symptoms that they have, that's better to talk about than the tools you're using to get there. So that's what I do as a copywriter and messaging strategist, words wizard, whatever you said.
Definitely a word wizard. I feel like, because sometimes when you're like, I know I can help people and I know I can do these things, but I just can't get the words right. I can't make them sound good. I can't make them sexy. I can't make them, I can't make the words sound like they're actually attractive. So that I think it's an invaluable service, because, so often we want to make sure that we have the right copy and we have the right verbiage, and we're really speaking to our clients instead of just sending a bunch of words to them. You want to make sure that they're reading what you're saying, because your message is so important.
Yeah, and it's like getting them in the door is really focusing on what they want, and you have to get very good at figuring that out. And then once they're in the door, then you're telling them, okay, here's your gluten-free plan and your blah blah blah, if you're whatever it is. And then they're, but they're doing it, and they didn't really need to know that much about it before they step in.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your offer.
Yeah. So I have a unicorn messaging quiz, which is all about it's just a real quick, fun quiz, but there's kind of 4 categories it buckets people into. So based on what category you're in, it helps to talk about what your possible strengths might be to highlight based on your personality in your message and your marketing. So yeah, it's quick and easy. Awesome.
So when you're from this quiz, learning a little bit about your personality type, why is that so valuable?
It really, it's based off a framework. I can't remember the name of the framework, but where people are controller, promoter, analyzer, and supporter. I've learned a lot about sales by putting people into those categories. The reason you do copy is to sell. So it just kind of figures out what's your strength in terms of selling via your copy, based on which of those you fall into.
What would somebody have to do in order to start working with you?
Yeah, you can go to my website, and there's a little box that pops up on the bottom right. Just message me there if you're interested, and we'll go from there. I'll write back. We'll set something up to talk.
One thing that I love about your website is everything's very well laid out. So, and that you are super quick at responding.
Yeah.
So, oh my goodness.
She's just ready for some attention.
Hi, say hi to Hollie.
Hey.
I went ahead and posted on the screen the link for the quiz. It's also posted above. It'll be posted above this video.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I don't know why he's so grouchy, just because he can't do whatever he wants, I suppose. Probably because we're on live.
Yeah.
So I have the link posted. And
Thank you.
Go to Hollie's website, hollietkac.com, and check her out, you guys. She has so much value to offer to you guys. And I've personally worked with Hollie, and I think she's such a great asset to have, somebody to have in your corner. So without further ado, I'm going to take these guys and try to do something fun, because they don't make videos fun for some reason.
How dare they? Just kidding.
Okay, well, again, you guys make sure you take that quiz. Check out Hollie's website.
Thank you.
We will talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.